Pumpkin, Cinderella's dancing pup. Pumpkin growled. Something was out of place in Cinderella's room. There on the bed, a flat, square, pink thing stuck out from under Cinderella's pillow. It didn't belong. Pumpkin looked at Cinderella. She was brushing her long hair and singing. She wasn't going to take care of this thing under the pillow. Well, Pumpkin would. Pumpkin gave a warning bark and pounced. She snatched the thing between her teeth. Growling, she shook it back and forth. "Pumpkin, what's wrong?" Cinderella asked as she rushed to the bed. Pumpkin raised her eyes to Cinderella. She tried to look fierce, but her tail gave her away. It was wagging. Cinderella read the envelope. It says, "To Cinderella and Pumpkin." She knelt, and Pumpkin put her paws on Cinderella's knees. How exciting! It was a surprise, and Pumpkin had found it. Cinderella neatly opened the envelope. She pulled out a fancy piece of paper. It's an invitation to a ball. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the garden. Don't be late, it says. Cinderella laughed. Oh, Pumpkin. Ever since I was late to my first ball, people always think I'll be late. Pumpkin sniffed the invitation. She felt bad about the teeth marks on it, but a ball. Pumpkin loved balls. Balls meant dancing. And dancing was Pumpkin's absolute favourite thing in the world. I haven't told you the best part, Pumpkin, Cinderella said. She rubbed the fur between Pumpkin's ears. It's not just any ball. It's a masquerade ball. That means we'll dress up in costumes. Dancing and costumes. Pumpkin barked. She couldn't imagine anything better. Pumpkin woke with the sun. The ball, it was today. She jumped onto the bed and stood on Cinderella's back. The princess barely moved. Pumpkin licked her face. Cinderella put an arm over her eyes. Too early, she groaned. First the prince woke me up when he went out riding. Now you. Sleep. Need more sleep. Cinderella rolled under her side and went silent. Pumpkin tilted her head. Why wasn't Cinderella more excited? It was okay, though. Pumpkin was excited enough for both of them. Pumpkin bounced off the bed. She spun in circles on the floor. Today, today! The ball was today! Then she spun the other way, just because she could. Much about the ball was still a mystery. Who had sent the invitation? Was it Gus and Jack, her mouse friends? Was it Bibbidi the pony? Was it Bruno the dog? The only one Pumpkin could rule out was Cinderella, because the invitation was for her too. Pumpkin had another question. What costume should she wear? She could be a fairy or a pixie. She could be a fairy or a pirate or a spider, a spy, an angel. There were so many choices. Twirled to her left, she twirled to her right. The trees around her blurred. She closed her eyes. She twirled and twirled and twirled. Pumpkin, watch out! It was Bibbidi. What was she shouting about? Pumpkin's eyes sprang open. Oh! She was inches from falling. She had been inches from falling over the edge of the terrace. She tried to stop, but her paws slipped on the dew. Pumpkin slid towards the edge of the terrace. Luckily, a rose bush stopped her. Unfortunately, it was a rose bush with thorns. Ouch! Bibbidi cantered over and looked down at Pumpkin. "Are you okay?" she asked. Pumpkin stared at her. Why was Bibbidi upside down? And she realized Bibbidi wasn't upside down, she was. "I'm okay," Pumpkin answered. She rolled out of the bush. She got to her paws. "Ow, ouch, ow, ow, owie." She raised one paw. Oh, drat! Something long and sharp was stuck in it. A thorn, a big one. "Nope, not okay," Pumpkin corrected herself. "That looks like it hurts," Bibbidi said. "I'll get Cinderella." "Oh, Pumpkin," Cinderella said. She held Pumpkin's paw in her hands and shook her head. Behind her, Bibbidi shook her head too. "How do you get into such messes?" Messes? What was Cinderella talking about? Pumpkin never got into messes. Well, there was that time she fell into the pig pen, and when she got stung by a bumblebee. Never mind. Why think about stuff like that? "This might hurt a little," Cinderella warned. She took the thorn between her fingers. Pumpkin gritted her teeth. Cinderella gently pulled the thorn out. Pumpkin was brave. It hardly hurt at all. "There," Cinderella said. "Now I'll fix it up." Cinderella cleaned Pumpkin's paw. Then she wrapped a soft white bandage around it. She tied the bandage snug with a knot. "How's that?" Cinderella asked. "Go on, give it a try." Bibbidi and Cinderella watched as Pumpkin carefully stood up. So far, so good. She took a step. It hurt a little. Pumpkin tried to twirl. "Ow, ouch, ow, ow, owie!" Nope. Dancing was no good. She'd have to settle for walking, with a limp. But how could she go to the ball if she couldn't dance? What fun would that be? "Try to stay off it," Cinderella gave Pumpkin's hurt paw a kiss, and then went back inside. "I have to make my costume. I'm going to be a fairy, pirate, spider, spy angel. It'll be perfect." Bibbidi looked doubtful. "That sounds complicated, but I know who can help us. The mice. They've been helping Cinderella. She just made a beautiful mask with them." Pumpkin limped behind Bibbidi into the castle. They went to the mouse workspace. The mice were already making their costumes for the ball. Pumpkin explained her idea to Chuck. "You're going to be a fairy, pirate, spider, spy angel?" he repeated. He pulled on his whiskers. "Start with a mask. Zap, zap." He brought 2 plain white masks. One was for Pumpkin, the other was for her friend Bibbidi. Gus pointed to some pots of colourful paint. "Got lots of paint," he said, "and feathers, and glitter, and buttons, and beads." So many colours. Pumpkin dove right in. She was feeling red today and maybe a little yellow. Then her tummy rumbled. Bibbidi gave her a look. "Pumpkin, did you have your breakfast today?" Pumpkin shook her head. She'd been too excited to eat. "Did you have your lunch?" Bibbidi asked. "Nope," Pumpkin said. She'd been too busy looking for a costume. "You have to eat something," Bibbidi said. Yes, Bibbidi was right. Pumpkin was very hungry. The kitchen was always crazy before a ball, but Pumpkin knew a secret spot for getting food. The spring house. The gardener stored fresh fruits and vegetables there. Tomatoes, red and ripe, potatoes with dirt on them, grapes just off the vine, carrots pulled right out of the ground, and a big bag of puppy treats. The spring house was tucked away at the back of the garden. Pine trees shaded it. A little creek trickled past. Moss covered the roof. Pumpkin nudged the wooden door open with her nose. Cool air greeted her. So did the smell of dirt and the smell of puppy treats. Pumpkin looked around. Where were they? She didn't see a single treat anywhere. She peeked into a bag. Potatoes. She ticked another bag. Nope, tomatoes. In one corner was a bag of carrots, peppers and squash. There were even a few round orange pumpkins. Pumpkin shut her eyes and sniffed the air. There! She could smell the treats. She followed her nose. Silly gardener. He had stuck the puppy treats all the way in the back behind the squash. Pumpkin pulled the sack open with her teeth and dug in. Yum, yum, yummy. Yum, yum. She loved treats. She loved the crunch of them. She loved the taste of them. Bang! Pumpkin jumped. What was that? She spun around. Oh, phew. It was just the door to the spring house. The wind must have blown it shut. Pumpkin ate 2 more treats. Then she gnawed on a carrot, and soon her belly felt full. Oh, good. She needed to get ready for the ball. Pumpkin walked to the spring house door and pushed it with her nose. Nothing happened. She pushed it harder. Still nothing. She stood on her back paws and pushed with her front paws, the one that wasn't hurt. With only one good paw, it would take her all night to dig out. And then what? She would miss the ball. Oh! Pumpkin howled. She was so loud she scared herself. Someone had to hear her. But no one came. Pumpkin was trapped. She might be stuck here forever, or at least until the gardener showed up. Cinderella and Bibbidi were right. How did she get into such messes? Pumpkin lay down on the floor. She put her head on her paws. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw something twinkle. Pumpkin raised her head. What was that? There it was again. Light sparkled behind the grapes. Maybe it was a lightning bug. Pumpkin got up to check it out. Oh, there was a crack in the spring house wall. It wasn't very big, but neither was Pumpkin. Maybe this was her way out. Pumpkin squeezed past a crate of grapes. The vines got tangled in her fur. She pushed forward until she snapped loose from the twisty vines. She crawled along the wall to the crack. She could see outside. She wiggled her head through the crack. She wiggled her paws through. She wiggled her back through. And her tail wiggled itself through. She was free! From the castle tower the clock began to chime. It was 8 o'clock. She was going to be late for the ball. Pumpkin raced through the trees. She dashed across the grass. She dodged rocks and roots. Up ahead she saw lights. It was the garden. Round orange paper lanterns lined the pathway. Blue and white banners hung from the trees. Silk flags waved in the breeze. Pumpkin was almost there. She was running so fast her mask slipped. It fell over her eyes. All the feathers on her mask fell off when she shook it straight, but oh, an unlit lantern had fallen to the ground in her path. She couldn't swerve out of the way. Pumpkin crashed into the lantern head first. She tried to shake it off, but it was stuck around her legs and belly. She poked her paws out the top and got back up. She started running again. "Cinderella, Bibbidi, Jack, wait for me," she cried. "I'm coming." Pumpkin skidded into the garden. She was already panting hard, and the sight of the ball took away the rest of her breath. The lanterns, the banners, and the costumes. Oh, it was all so beautiful. Cinderella stood in the middle of the garden. She wore a shimmery blue and white gown. There were sparkly wings on her back. She was a fairy. Was Bibbidi. She'd added a golden horn to her mask. Bibbidi was a pretty unicorn. Their costumes were so nice. If only Pumpkin had one too, she sighed. Well, at least she had her mask. Bibbidi trotted over. "You made it," she said. "Isn't the ball wonderful? Guess who did all this? The prince." "The prince! I never thought of him," Pumpkin said. "Oh, Bibbidi, you won't believe what happened. I got trapped in the spring house. I just got out. I didn't have time to put on my costume." "What do you mean?" Bibbidi said. "Your costume is perfect. I like it even better than the puppy's." "Go take a look in the fountain," Bibbidi said. Pumpkin went to the fountain. Torches lit the water. She found her reflection. Look at that! An orange mask, an orange lantern around her middle, and a curly grapevine in her head. Pumpkin was a pumpkin. "There you are, my little pumpkin," Cinderella said. "What a perfect costume." She swept Pumpkin into her arms. "I didn't think you would make it, but then I saw you dash into the garden. I'm so happy your paw feels better." Better? Her paw? What? Wait a second. Cinderella was right. Pumpkin had run here from the spring house. She had dashed through the grass. She had raced through the trees, and her paw hadn't hurt once. It was all better. Now the ball would be just wonderful. A band began to play a lively waltz. Pumpkin wiggled out of Cinderella's arms. As soon as her paws hit the ground, she started dancing, and she didn't stop all night. Not even when the clock struck 9 or 10 or 11. Not even when the clock struck midnight.